years, we have not clearly defined what we truly believe in, whether we believe in ourselves or in our culture or whatever it is. So there's a lot of cognitive dissonance which religion has brought forward. I use that word because we've already had a study on this 2000, this after COVID, the effect of religion in Nigerian society. That's what we're going to call it. And then we now get down to the fact that it's cognitive dissonance, where you're questioning your beliefs. So anything that doesn't align with you, you either react to it or you're there to just challenge it. Challenging it is what we do. When we do that viciously, you saw that play out in the elections. And I'm glad you used that example of when Peter B went to church to speak to people, and the next thing you know, they want to call it out to something else. This thing happens all the time. From the other who said, you know what, people are going to die, eventually other things happen. For anybody who would bring out something that would make you think less of the next person because of what they believe in, that is one of Nigeria's biggest problems. We can deal with the political side because at the end of the day, all you have to do is sell the idea that nothing's going to help you, blah, blah, blah. Give them some money and you know something. We can deal with the tribalism side because that just takes levels of education. But the religious side, because we struggle with spiritual dissonance, and that is a problem. I don't know what the solution is. Because we struggle with that level of spiritual dissonance, it affects the mindset of, I wouldn't say the average Nigerian, a lot of Nigerians. You know, so you see this problem, Julie, you see it constantly in our engagement. If someone comes and says he's a Muslim, there's already a mindset we have about Muslims. Because culturally, you already know. If someone comes and says he's a Christian and you're not a Christian, there's already an inclination of how you accept that person if you're a Muslim. If someone comes and says he's an atheist, he's almost like a devil. You know, not to talk about those other small, small gods. If anybody comes and says they serve a thing or they come, you look at them with pure hate because we don't know yet how to deal with this thing. So it's frightening at this point in time. But the fact of the matter, like the topic says, and I'm going to park it here because I think the conversation is long. The frightening thing is the religious side of things that we are aligned with right now in Nigeria. It's one that is evolving. It's one that we understand that we don't know about it entirely, but we are not willing to admit that we're still growing it, but we're using it as a tool to separate us instead of us building. When the Hutsis and the Tutsis, when they decided to come together, one of the first things that the man who's in charge, Paul Kagame, I think, what he did was ensure that religiosity was kind of wiped out completely. So you would see the normal person from what's that country again? Someone help me out. What's that country? Again, what country is that again? Where they had the Hutsis and the Tutsis. Rwanda, thank you very much. You would see a Rwandan as a Rwandan first. You make sure they did that. You would see a Rwandan as a Rwandan first, and they put that into law before you even go into what they believe in or how they operate. Now, when Nigeria gets to that mindset, because America is in that mindset, England is in that mindset, a few other people are in that mindset, you see the nationality of the person first, when you wouldn't bother about what they believe in, maybe we'll start getting that unity that we truly deserve. I hope that helps, but I'll be around anyway. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So beautiful. I love your breakdown and how you took it.
Your mic's on mute if you were saying something.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was actually speaking. I forgot I didn't unmute my mic. So I love the breakdown you made from the politicians, religion, and traditional rulers. And these are the things I need us to talk about today. It has gotten so worse that recently, I think it was one Igbo king like that in a community in Lagos. He decided to release some prisoners, and it was disgusting. I mean, the government of Lagos recognizes this man, and it's been happening for a long time. He's been a king for a long time. But all of a sudden, simply because it's 2024 or 2025, and he spoke with authority, just because of that, they attacked him. It was attacked unprovoked because they saw him releasing some people, and people are, hailing him, Igwe and all that. And simply because it happened in Lagos, that was an abomination to them, right? So I don't know how we managed to get to that level, but the honest truth is it's only happening in Lagos. So why? Why is it not happening elsewhere? Why is it not happening in Ibadan? Why not in Oyo? Why not in Isheyin? Why not in Ogun State? Oshun, Ondo, Akure, Ekiti. Why? Why only in Lagos? Because they'll tell you Lagos is a no man's land. Lagos is Yoruba land. How many people that have been living in Lagos? How many of them actually been home? Like been back in the eastern part of the country or the western part of the country, even in Lagos itself, majority of the people that go there to claim Lagosians, they are from Ibadan, from Oshun, Abeokuta, all around. The real core people, the real core indigenes of Lagos, they are being silenced. They are being silenced. Have the likes of GRV say because he cannot speak Yoruba fluently, he's not a Yoruba person. Anyway, we still have a long way to go. Odunayo, welcome. Karigo, welcome. Ochuko, so we'll do Odunayo, Ochuko, Karigo in that order. Odunayo, jump in. How you doing?
I'm okay. Good afternoon, sir. How are you, sir? Yeah, I usually use Central Time and Eastern Time and what's it called Pacific Time. So that's the California Eastern Time, the New York time, and the Chicago the Central Time. So that people who are living in other parts of America, familiar with this is the time frame as it is. So when you say your time factor, yeah. So yeah, very well. Thank you so much for this discussion. It's quite very imperative at the same time. The knowledge you have shared very well here is quite acknowledging. I really appreciate you for that deep research you've done here already. And listening to it, and I enjoyed myself. So, an appetizer. Well, the issue of tribalism and all the things you see today in Nigeria did not just come today. You make a reference to 1957. Unfortunately, it did not start in 1947. You remember the name Herbert Macaulay, the Yoruba man, the grandson of what was his name? This man that translated the Bible from English Bible to the Yoruba version. Can't remember his name.
Ajayi Crowther.
So, Ajayi Crowther, the grandson of Ajayi Crowther. Herbert Macaulay was the founder of NCNC. NCNC was not founded by by I think it was when it came to meet and joined the NCNC. I became secretary of the party. At the time, 1945 46, when Mr. Macaulay died, I think he became the chairman of the party, the president of the party. So the party was not just a party per se, it was a militant party. But a party that was rooted not just the declaration of Nigeria, but Africa. That's why many persons like Kwame Nkrumah, who saw as it was his mentor, can tell you very well that if you read the book, all this, you can see you see letters. I used to have photocopy of those letters for the purpose of future references. So but I read this one in 2006. So I could remember almost every detail of the book because I enjoyed it very well. Not for the fact that the guy is a smart guy, he was a good writer, so I enjoyed book writing very well. So he actually said very clearly, and his intention was very simple to decolonize Africa. That was the champion of that was the intention of Azikiwe. Not just Nigeria, not just West Africa. His intention was to go through the whole of Africa. That was why most of his peers were not just people you can hear easily. They get the point. So you cannot take it away from him about his intention. However, by the time Azikiwe Awolowo came back and the Democratic Party is coming on, like you said, it's a divide and rule system. So the white men were able to engineer them to say, the only way to break Azikiwe's wing is to make sure that people like him came in. As Awolowo, I've been a fan of him. I've read so many
some of his books, Step to Freedom. I think that was about four volumes. I read that one 2008. So I can tell you very well that in that book, he mentioned his entrance into politics. As if we went about Nigeria, specifying his what you call the minority group in Nigeria. For him, as if was already a top notch, not just not just at the political level, he was a driver of political media, a very strong media arm, who was actually discussing issues that are affecting a lot of black persons and African persons in their own descent and the ills of the colonialism, right? A lot of people went to read his book, his newspaper every morning stand. This was the opinion of Mr. Bola in his book when he talked about how he developed British culture by reading as it was morning column every day. So they go to each person and listen and read them for themselves. Now, what I'm saying is this. Now, I want to came back, he saw the way the tentacle of Mr. Azikiwe. So he tried to join the own narrative. What did he do? He discovered people like Joseph Taka and Brian Disonia. A lot of people he discovered. How did he discover them? He made them understand that they are not that are you and this kind of right? He tried to make sure that he bring people from the minority group and was able to make the base for them. Right? He brought them in and identified them. He went in his book, he said he went to these places, right? To discover these places. Unfortunately, Joseph Taka was a teacher and he discovered him and brought him into business. What about Dabo? There's another guy, Dabo is a thief guy too. These are minority guys from the north town region of Nigeria. He brought them in. And that was one of the ways for him is politics. This is a crooked Nigeria. Now I talk about the NPC. The NPC was formed 1951 or so. The Egberemu was formed 1948, 1959. Then AG was formed 1949, 1950. So these are the political development of Nigerian system. So it was not like, oh, this SAC was not formed for the purpose of people agenda or anything. It was beyond people agenda. It wasn't people like as if we were saying. You get the point. As if we was almost killed in Ghana. When the two times he was almost killed in Ghana, and he went to University of Pennsylvania where he did his degree in sociology and all that. So it was for him it was about Africa, right? That was why his argument with Mr. Saldana was we have to build Nigeria first before you can build a Northern. Saldana said no, I'm a Northern first before I build Nigeria. You can understand the simple fundamental logic and philosophy behind personal perspective of Nigeria. And like rightly said, the Nigerian state was not created by the conscience of the people. So you can remember very well that it was as a result of conquest and other kind of factors that people came together and were able to form the world Nigeria today. So the idea of Nigeria has never been a country, first of all. That's why I agree with the fact that we have to discuss Nigeria. You cannot wish it away. You cannot even anything you are saying today is a result of the foundational problem that was encouraged as it were. So people are the question of Nigeria from Marx to regional constitution created by Richardson Constitution 1948. 1945, this intention of this constitution was to set a particular period of time. For instance, Marx's constitution was 1951. It was supposed to last until like 1959 or 1960, but unfortunately it was cut short in 1953. And then what's it called? Real constitution was 1948. It was supposed to cut short, was supposed to spend 5 years, but it was cut in 1948 or 1949 before Marx's constitution was founded. So saying very well that the issues of Nigeria will not actually discussed properly so-called. Now, between 1952, 1960, you can hear very clearly that this for 8 years to 9 years, Nigeria did not have a constitutional conclusion. So there were constitutional conferences in London, there were constitutional conferences in Nigeria, so there were people changing it and all that. So they were not on create discussion. And at the end of the day, the issues of Nigeria were not discussed properly so-called. You can remember vividly there were fighting, there were backstabbing, there were betrayers, right? You can remember 1952, you remember what happened in the Northern General Conference, or another legislature, where members of that assembly moved. Some people have said, oh, I'm lying. I agree with you that I'm lying. But give me a fact to support what I'm lying for. Because I don't know read book. I have read more than I tell you that about one particular issue in Nigeria, and I've read like 10 opinions on this discussion, and I'll use my reasoning to say this is the discussion I'm making on this discussion. So what I will know, and his I don't really I can't remember his name right now, and many of these guys who were Awolowo's captains were able to work with him, and I think we won with SCSC. And SCSC, like I said, was not the Eastern region issue. It was basically the Nigerian intention, the true Nigerian tradition. So just know very well. And the other party that came in, the NPC and the AG were founded for political and regional emancipation or regional voice, not for the sake of Nigeria. That's why the Nigerian state have never been discussed with Nigerian people. And Nigerian people have not discussed Nigeria to tell us what we want to be. Everything about Nigeria is created for the purpose of political consideration, political views, not for the purpose of creating a nation. So you can't compare Nigeria with America or even other part of the world you mentioned. The reason why I cannot mention them because Nigeria was not created to make progress. Nigeria was not created to make any future. Nigeria was created for the purpose of individual, either administrative reasons, either economic reasons, either to be able to keep people subjugated in a particular place and without a future. That's why I've argued very well. No matter how beautiful you are, no matter your idea, if you're coming to Nigeria, if you're not dismantling this system we have today and creating a new system that will make people to be able to let it, because the system we have today it can have two people and Nigeria. And you're going to have more of Tinubu and even worse of Tinubu because the system will make sure that criminals will be given political survival, while people who are working hard in Nigeria will not be able to fight the same any other thing. And you cannot be able to make ends meet when the system is subjugating you. For instance, I work in the government, for instance. My salary cannot take me in a year, right, to buy a car. Not just a car, a good car, right? So imagine what it is for you to work in an establishment that is supposed to earn very well, and you are not able to buy a house or even buy a car or even buy a land or build a house. So you can understand what it means. So you want to make sure that people who are criminals are given the opportunity to excel in Nigeria. You are excel in Nigeria because the criminal enterprise for Nigeria is a continuation of what it is 1960s, 1950s, 1940s, and it's still there. And the question is, what is the question? Or what is the question? Do you want to be a country? Can Nigeria be a country? That's the question. You don't even need to like the person that asked this question. That now we cannot ask the question, whether it was somebody who asked the question. If anybody asks the question is a fundamental question. You get the point? So if you look at 1952 and 1960, you can know very well for sure that there were more than 7 constitutional conferences. Some were held in UK, some were held in Nigeria. Different one, they just made sure that just create the country, let us move, so that they will be in charge and they will be in charge of this country. Not because they want to do anything special. And if you read the book Why We Strong by what's his name again now? Why We Strong, people that fought for that created the first coup, the Why We Strong book, you can remember very well that the reason behind this coup may not be intentionally bad, but it was altruistic intention.
Are you referring to Ademola Adeboyega?
Ademola, thank you so much. Yeah, so in his book, he has 10 reasons, 10 complete reasons why they embarked on that particular voyage. And the intention was to make sure that they bring Nigeria back to a place of prosperity. They felt that the regional and corruption that was going on was too big not to be able to make Nigeria make that progress. You see, young people, these guys were not even evil guys per se, right? These guys were Nigerian people who saw Nigeria as a country that needed salvation, right? So just open your mind to many things. So it was not an Igbo coup per se, or it was Yoruba coup or Hausa coup. That's why you can talk about people like Banjo and all those guys, because they wanted a country that's supposed to be just to be for everybody. And these guys were very young. They were in the 20s, not in the 30s, they were in the 20s. So you can understand what it means. They were in the 20s when this thing happened. They were in the 30s. Some of us are in the 30s here, but those guys were in the 20s. So the reason will not make sense because they're Democrats, we are not agreeing in the first place. But the intention of that action is what I will look at first of all. So that was why they're struck. Because between 1960 and that constitutional conference, independence, to 1966, there were challenges in Nigeria. First, the issue of the Western Regional what's it called? State of emergency declared by Tafawa Balewa. The jailing of Awolowo, the creation of Midwest. Right? These are not intentional. They just create these things for political purposes, not because of saying Midwest wanted the state or whatever it is, or however it is, but because of the Nigerian states.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to wrap up, then.
All right, let me wrap up. I will look at the prayer issues. So let me look at these prayer issues. That Nigeria was not a country. Nigeria has never been a country, and Nigeria may not be a country if you come to do with ourselves. That anything we are saying today is by mistake. Anybody that have read Nigerian history in an adequate manner will not be surprised what we are saying today. What we are saying today is not surprising to me by mistake because I have soaked myself in Nigerian history very well. That there's no any book or there's no even biographies or autobiographies I have not read of books because I want to understand why there's a stagnancy in this society for a long time. This I did 2006, 2007, and I did it for a long time. So it's not like I started reading Nigerian history. No, I started reading Nigerian history in my about to finish university, secondary school, and about to enter university. And I understand that Nigeria has a big problem. And the reason why that's why I'm saying all these things. Now, fast forward to the issue of religion and all those things. Religion is not our problem. That is electricity our problem. These issues are, when you do corruption, right? It's only corruption in Nigeria, corruption all over the world. There are stems and there are roots. Religion, electricity, corruption, bad leadership are all stems of the system called Nigeria. They are all stems called Nigeria. The root cause of Nigeria, all these challenges are saying, is that Nigeria is not a country. And that question must be answered in a very important and sincere manner. If I say, why do you want to be a country? We will not say, okay, everybody have agreed to be a country. How do you want to be a country? You can't be a country when you have common entrance from the north, not from the south. When you have jobs, different from the south, from the north. When you have political, that cannot be a country. That cannot be a country at all. You can have a country where people don't believe that there is a country. They see you from a particular support. So we can turn ourselves truth. You can be. I like you very well because you want to be one Nigeria, but I tell you the truth. I don't fancy it in the first place because the question has not been answered. And the more important is that the more you have these Nigerian states continuing as a criminal enterprise, more of Tinubu will not just be in 2027, they will be in Nigeria presidency. People either in the Western world, either in the Eastern world of Europe, that have committed crime against those countries and they committed them to prison. They will come back to Nigeria, they will find a way back to Nigeria and they will run for election and they will win. And by that time, you and I that are trying to make ends meet in the righteous order will not be able to afford it because you don't have the money to throw around. Very soon they will tell you that APC presidential form is 200 million naira. If you work for that 200 years as a civil servant, you may not be able to afford it. So leadership can only engage you. So we need to ask ourselves question: do you want to be a country? That question must be answered, and that's where the issues and every other issues you can discuss here, and we'll discuss here, and you're going to discuss in the future. We'll step on. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Oduayo. Thank you. That was lengthy and quite insightful. So I think you missed the part I said, the amalgamation of northern and the southern protectorates happened in 1914. I started with the 1914 due to the colonial policy, showed divisions through indirect rules. It was after that time I mentioned about the 1947-48 Zik versus Ahmadu Bello trial suspicion. So I understand your perspective towards this. It's quite insightful, filled with history, and I want to see it beyond that. We can agree that Nigeria is not a country based on how it was set up. Okay, but at a point in time, we were actually living together peacefully. We were living peacefully together. It was there, right? But it wasn't as much as it is right now. So even way back during the whole wait here and Igbo must go, Hausa must go, and all those Reabonke war and all those religions war and everything. It was bloody. It was bloody, but I laid out those history to let people understand how far we've come and to compare how things has been since then till date. I mean, something entirely different happened on, during this last election, 2022, 2023, 2024 until date. And I want us to focus more on that, in as much as we might want to have um, a foundational background to how far we've come and how we got to where we are right now. We can mention those points, but you see, currently, it has never been weaponized by the government itself. By the government itself, it has never been weaponized the way it is right now. I might be wrong. I might be wrong. You can, come and prove me wrong. It has never been weaponized directly, like being obvious for you to know, yeah, the government is behind this. You cannot tell me they don't know what is going on and they're not making effort into correcting it. But I want it to be an engaging one. I would love to hear from Uchuko. We've heard from So, we've heard from Oduayo. Let's hear from Uchuko, then Karigo in that order. And that way, hopefully, we'll get more people to come up so we can have an open discussion. Oh, Chuko, how you doing? Welcome.
Thank you very much, Jimmy, and thanks to everyone on the space. Interestingly, I think Odunayo actually made my submission quite a large part of. I think he made my submission a bit easier for me. Let me put it that way. You talk about fathers of bigotry, politics, religion, or tribe, and then what is dividing us. So upfront, let me maybe you can call it developing on what Odunayo submitted already. For me, if I am to start from the ending part of the topic, what is actually dividing us is what was claimed to have been made to bring us together in the first place. Let me repeat that. The so-called forceful amalgamation, which you also referenced, of 1914, is the greatest source of our own division. So what I'm trying to say is this. We even gathering to speak about things that divide us today, in a way, betray our understanding of what our problems are. The reason is, before the Europeans came and tried to remake us according to what they want, I don't think our forefathers in their different um, uh, um, in their different settlements or in their different nation state status, such as the Oyo Empire, for example, the Benin Kingdom, the Aro Confederacy, the very prosperous Kingdom of Gobert, the Zamfara city states. I don't think they saw themselves as divided people in the sense of what we are battling today, right? So I really thank Odunayo for basically laying that foundation for what I intend to contribute to this topic. So I think we must now, I've actually been itching to get engaged in this very subject that you actually brought in. And I have to thank you again for giving us the opportunity to talk about these things. Because for me, virtually every time you come on X, the only thing that you hear people talk about is, election, coalition, election, Nigeria, election, and it is sometimes almost suffocating, knowing fully well that we are actually putting the cart before the horse, as they say. Your topic or your space this evening is such a glorious opportunity for us to just try and speak to a very critical issue. So you talk about the fathers of bigotry. So first of all, what is bigotry in the first place? Maybe it's important because the word bigotry is another word that have been so, how would I put it? Let's say it has been manipulated or weaponized to almost make us want to run into or under the bedspread of our various closets. The word bigotry is an English word, and if anyone cares to look it up, the core takeaway, the very meaning of the word has to do with narrow-mindedness. Okay, narrow-mindedness or a sort of clinging to one's own narrow interest at the expense of any other, basically. It will interest you, my brother, to understand that prior to the incursion of these people into our lands, we loved ourselves. we loved ourselves beyond our ethnic lines. Okay? But that did not blur the distinction. That is, our loving ourselves beyond our ethnic lines never took away our understanding that, for example, myself as an Urhobo man, I am ethnically distinct from the Hausa man. That I, as an Urhobo man, I am ethnically distinct from the Yoruba man. That I, as an Urhobo man, I am ethnically distinct from the TV man. Yet, with that understanding that I have, I loved that man. I lived with that Hausa man. I think it was you who gave an analogy earlier on about how sometimes maybe in the 80s or early 90s, where you could have a 12-year-old young chap, sitting next to the other in the classroom without knowing where this one came from and all of those. Look, my brother, those were not because we did not realize that we had our distinct nationalities. We had that understanding from time immemorial, but that did not stop us from respecting each other. So the bigotry is, in a way, it is part and parcel of the human nature. But we, as Africans, in our different ethnic groups, we were so civilized in our own way that we recognized our differences, and yet we're able to live together as though those differences never existed. But lo and behold, just like Odunayo said, all of these pristineness, these well civilized mindset were brutally raped by the incursion once again of these people that came claiming to actually know more without actually opening up their real intention, which was basically what bigotry actually meant. Because if you look at the true meaning of bigotry, you find out that the real people who weaponized bigotry into our hearts and now made it look like it's something that is so strange and so so demonic are these same people that came. And how did it happen? They came, and for me personally, nothing can be more evil than for a people to come from nowhere and decide to say, regardless of whatever civilization you had, regardless of whatever identities you had, from now henceforth going forward, you discard whatever identities you had. From henceforth, I am giving you this identity. And for that, not because they so loved me, not because they so loved you as an Egba man, no, but because of their own narrow interest, which is the real definition of this word bigotry that we are now battling to this. Where am I driving at? If we want to speak about the fathers of bigotry, we would have to look beyond the Fani Kayode, the Bayo Onanugas, the people you call Runus or blah, blah, or whatever, the people you call Trigosters or Runus, or we will even have to look beyond the likes of Sir Ahmadu Bello, who was bold enough to declare before the whole world to say, me and my fathers before me must be treated as a conquered people. Okay? We will still have to look beyond them and look to the point where we were even put in a situation to even begin to now fight ourselves in an attempt to undo the other. That, my brother, is the very genesis of bigotry. And I thank you again because you have given us that wonderful opportunity this evening. And that is where I really want us to speak to. I know you may not like this, because maybe, but I don't know. At the end of the day, if we really care, because I know you talked about what you really wish. I think if I heard you correctly earlier on, that part of your aim for convening this space is to try to change the narrative. If I got it right, my brother Jimmy. So in the spirit of trying to change the narrative, we must be able to look to the issues and call it by the appropriate name. Boldly speak to it, look beyond what the Trigosters are doing, look beyond what these Ronus are doing, because all of these people, they are actually They're actually people who are now trying to outdo each other in an artificial environment that has been created for us. Okay, so someone tried to make a point, and I think it was it so that tried to speak about how people have tried to manage similar situations. For example, I think so spoke about Rwanda and how they were able to through political fiat somehow able to subdue their individual their Tutsi identities and their Hutu identities now to say they have to see themselves as Rwandese before they see themselves as Tutsis. My brother, unfortunately, he's not here, but if we will be truthful to ourselves, we will have to admit that the Rwanda that he thinks have actually, overcome that problem. I don't want to digress the focus of the space, but I can't agree or I can't disagree more with that model of trying to, by any stretch of imagination, use political power to try to take away people's identity from them just because we want to give them an imposed identity. Without blinking, I can tell you here that whatever they did, if the peace that we have in Rwanda today was a forced one because political power was used to repress the Tutsi identity and the Hutu identity, that they should better speak as Rwandese than as their Tutsis. If that were to be what is happening in Rwanda, then I can assure you that whatever peace that they are enjoying there will be a piece of the graveyard. I can almost assure you. And how do I know that? I know that because I know that the people who have played the politics, this kind of modern politics now, I'm not talking about our natural self, this kind of politics, which are the Europeans, because they are the ones that have played the kind of politics that all of us in Africa are trying to copy and paste right now. And the people that have played this kind of politics for centuries and centuries, which are the Europeans, they try to do this by trying to knock off people's individual identities, but we saw where it landed them. It landed them in centuries of intertribal wars until they come to the point of going apart to come together. Going apart to come together. And I think in talking about changing the narratives, if we want to be serious about changing our narrative.
If you can wrap up in like 1 minute, please.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So, yes.
Before you wrap up, my question to you is Lagos a no man's land?
No place can be regarded as a no man's land, in as much as the place was not a virgin land. There are basically two ways of owning a place. Okay, if the place was a virgin land and people got there and founded it first, the people that got there first own the land. So I can't speak of Lagos as being a no man's land when I have read from history that there were people that founded it even before the Europeans came and started making their colony. So people were there. It cannot be a no man's land in that sense. So just to anchor what I was saying. So in speaking about changing the narrative, like I was saying, we will have to come to the point where we say our identities will have to be reasserted. And Odunayo put it in a way of discussing Nigeria, which of course I stand for 100%. That is the most fundamental and the most viable way forward. It doesn't matter the number of conferences that you will speak of from now to thy kingdom come. We can postpone the evil day by saying we want to go and do national conference, blah blah blah. Just another talk show. We want to restructure. We want to do this. No, we will have to first of all answer the question: who is a Nigerian? Do I prefer the identity Nigerian to my identity before the Europeans came? Do I treasure this identity that was imposed on me, or do I wish to reassert my own self? I think, let me stop there so that you already told me 1 minute. So let me stand by, my brother. Thank you very much. I stand by. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ochiko. Thanks. You came from a different angle entirely, and I couldn't ignore the fact that you mentioned the Rono people and the Trigger styles. So, again, I spoke about those earlier on. And by the way, everyone is welcome to come have their say here. I'm just not gonna tolerate any gospels. I want it to be an intellectual one, and I want us to keep it simple. So, the point is, if you approach the Rono guys and try talk them into coming down, they will emphasize and they will show you tweets coming from the trigger status. If you approach the trigger status about that, they will refer you to tweets coming from the Rono people. So what is now going on between them is almost every minute new tweets are coming out. If it were old tweets, you can easily talk about overlooking them. But speaking to one person now, the next minute something else pops up. Another tweet, not just random or casual tweet, damaging tweet comes up. So where do you draw the line there? How do you now have a conversation or a dialogue on ceasefire? And even if you want to talk about ceasefire, one side will tell you their tribe has been castigated for a long time. Genuinely so, right? And they're just pushing back. And again, they can later on tell you, you know what, we're not just pushing back again. We're going on the offensive now, okay? And it's been going on for a very long time. So it's our time to push back and retaliate. Genuinely so. You cannot tell people how to react when you push them to the wall. When you push them to the wall, it's one thing for people to be able to actually react, it's another thing for them to gain that confidence to react. And once they get it, it's a generational thing. You know, the elder ones might have overlooked a lot of things. We're getting to a level at which the new generations are not going to allow it. Okay? So, in so doing, both are causing damages, right? Cultural, traditional. In fact, at a point in time, they don't care what's going to come out of it. I mean, these are people that they have nothing to lose. I'm referring to the Igbos, right? They have nothing to lose right now. They consider themselves, if you pick an Igbo man, a wealthy Igbo man, and place them in the desert, just give them a year. They'll start from scratch, get back on their feet, and they will act like nothing ever happened to them. Like abandoning their wealth in civilization, just pick them up, drop them anywhere else. They have that mindset. They have that belief. Okay. And they've proved it in many ways. Other tribes does it as well, are capable of doing it as well. But I'm talking about the fact that after the Biafra war, they lost everything. I mean everything. Again, you're welcome to tackle me with facts and figures. But they came back. If we truly claim, though Odunlaya has explained extensively that Nigeria was never one, yes, I agree on that one. But based on how we've been living before now, based on how the lifestyle of Nigerians has been before now, something changed in 20. What's that? Sorry, mute. I don't know what this is. I can't even hear you clearly. Your mic is terrible. But hold on, let me wrap up. Someone else is going before you, then we move on to you. So so um, I lost my train of thought. So, anyways, what I'm saying is this: at the point in time, we have to agree that we've not been practicing that one Nigeria. We've not, and that's a fact. And the reason why I'm capitalizing on that is um, we have more than just Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa in Nigeria. We have hundreds of tribes in Nigeria. But guess what? Power has been shuffled between two major tribes, and that's the Yoruba and the Hausa tribe. Hausa Fulani, whichever way you want to put it. And I'm talking about the presidency. No middle belt, and well, they might want to say go on. We might argue democracy, not military rule. But the fact is this: it has become obvious that a particular tribe, out of the key tribe, let me use it that way, key tribes, Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa. And the reason why I'm using it is because they've emphasized on those, they've been established, almost cut out from the major tribes, and they just distributed every other tribe underneath this key major tribe. It was so apt that they gave it a code name, Wazobia. Wazobia. Wa means come in Yoruba. Zo means come in Hausa. Bia means come in Igbo. Wa, zo, bia. They made a 15 naira note out of it. So now, out of those three tribes, only two has been shut in with the presidency. What about the third one? Mind you, we still have hundreds on the side. But you see, the first three key ones, as they claim, what about those? Why the third one has been sidelined for a long time? And if you ask them, they will tell you it's because of the Biafra war. That they want to take over the country, they want to separate the country. So 1 minute you don't want them to go. Another minute, you don't want them to stay. And you don't want them to live their lives. So what exactly do we want? What is the point of all this bigotry? What is the essence of it? What is the essence of it? That's the question. Karigwe, welcome. Jump in, my brother.
See, would you mind, sorry, Jimmy, do you mind if I just make a comment just a minute before we come to?
Right, go ahead. Make it snappy though.
Okay. Yes, it's going to be very happy. You see, my brother Jimmy, look at this. I had the very well. For example, you talk about the fact that what the Iranians so-called are doing is really, really bad, right? They are like, okay, should I say bad? But maybe to the average mind, you will say it's to the extreme. But now let's just do little mental exercise, right? If you look at the Nigerian state, okay, which aspect of the Nigerian state can you say, yeah, which aspect of the Nigerian state, I mean, to the very highest echelon of power level or layers in the Nigerian state, from the highest echelon of leadership, okay, you see this thing that we call bigotry institutionalized at the very highest place. So how on earth would you even imagine? If I put it as a question to you, do you see this thing that is going on right now between the two doctors and the Romans? Do you see it fizzling out by any stretch of imagination? Like, what are the things that you see that makes you think that somehow this is going to go away? When you